Hi everybody, my name's John. If you haven't been here before, I've had a channel for a few years now, and although I do show metal occasionally, it's not sort of the main focus of my channel. I show prog and rock and pop and jazz and soul and funk occasionally these days. But I came across this tag called the metal tag that seems to represent almost a schism in the vinyl community, dare I say. No, I'm sure it's not. I first saw it by a channel called G-Rock when he commented on my vinyl community tag 2021, and I followed it through to the guy that sort of created the metal tag, and I thought, well, that looks quite fun. I'll have a go at that myself. So here goes. I'm going to try and answer all of the questions. Picked out a few records and CDs. I hope you find this interesting. Music spoiled by vocals. It didn't take long for me to think about this one. I'm just going to show the Scorpions. Occasionally I make videos about my heavy metal and hard rock records, and recently, or almost recently, I sort of made a video about the Scorpions, about how I really kind of don't enjoy them purely because of Klaus Main's vocals. He's got a very, very strong German accent, which perhaps isn't necessarily a bad thing normally, but I just don't enjoy them. I would much prefer to hear him sing in German rather than in English with a strong German accent. Similar issue with a band called Eloy. The vocalist has also a very, very strong, although they're more of a sort of krautrock band, very strong German accent, which for me just detracts from the music. I have a hard time hearing past that and enjoying the music. So anyway, that's the answer to my first question. An album that I love that's let down by bad production. I've always thought, and have said this, that Ian Gillan's music, I would like it so much more if it was produced differently. It seems that so many of his records, at least the earlier ones, I'm not so familiar with what he does recently now, but they're produced in such a way so that it almost like channels the stereo sound towards the centre. And I get what I think he's trying to do is sort of create like a battering ram of noise, almost like a wall of sound, if you like, in the middle. But for me, what it does is it just muddies the music so much that, again, I can't really enjoy it. I would like this record so much more if it didn't do that. Yeah, there's Yannick Gears there, before he joined Iron Maiden. Anyway, so that's the answer to the next. Band that suffers from a weak member. Might make some enemies here. I would have to say Guns N' Roses. Although I'll rephrase the question, I think. I'm talking about Axl Rose. He's not necessarily a weak member in that he doesn't sort of, you know, deliver. I think he obviously does. But I think he's perhaps a weak member in that it's, as far as I understand it, it's him that sort of broke the band, the original band, up. If he didn't have the big ego issues and that sort of thing, it's nice to think that maybe these guys may be playing together still, making, you know, tremendous music like they did in the beginning. Sadly, it's all split up now, and you know, you have these big media squabbles and that sort of thing. It is such a shame. So I'm gonna call Axl Rose out as being a weak member of a band. An album that for me defines heavy. I'm gonna have to show Motorhead. This is Orgasmatron on CD. One of my favourite albums of all time. Certainly, you know, one of my top 5 all-time hard rock and heavy metal albums. I just think it's just blistering. And the time when I got this, yeah, my mid mid-20s, I suppose I would have been. It really sort of ripped my ears off. I've been a long-standing fan of Motorhead, although I retired from Motorhead perhaps in the last decade of their existence, because I found it too painful to watch Lemmy sort of dwindle the way he did. I just had more respect for him than to just keep on, watching this, obviously a man suffering with sort of his decline, continued to perform. So I didn't want to see that, so I just sort of zoned out. But in their prime, they were unstoppable and as heavy could be in their day. Show an album recommended to me by someone on the vinyl community. I'm going to show this. It wasn't so much recommended, but I sort of won it from somebody in the vinyl community, and with that I want to give a shout out to Dean Everest. Hi Dean, hope you're doing well. I last saw signs of life from Dean, I think on Christmas Eve, late in the evening when I was putting my children to bed. I don't know, but I haven't got back to him yet, but I said I will. Dean, a long time ago, had a contest. I think it was his 100 subs contest or something like that, and he had a few albums that you could pick from if you won, and I was fortunate enough to win, and I won this. Asked him to send this to me, and he did. Opeth, not a band that I had much to do with before. A Swedish sort of I don't know, black metal band, death metal band or something like that, but I think at this stage they're sort of delving into the realms of heavy prog. But so that's my record I'm going to show for that. Check out Dean Everest's channel if you're new to the VC, because he showed a lot of great metal in his day. I guess he's found other things to do these days, so you don't see him very often on the VC. Anyway, that's my show an album that takes my musical taste in a different direction. Difficult. Don't know if I'm answering it correctly, but I'm going to show this. So this is a CD by a band called Beckett. Iron Maiden fans may know a bit about this. Beckett are a progressive rock band, and I must confess I like prog. I don't listen to much metal so much these days, but I do listen to a lot of prog. Now Beckett were a progressive rock band that were sharing studio space with a very early Iron Maiden, and Iron Maiden sort of these kind of disappeared eventually, into obscurity. But Iron Maiden went from strength to strength, and a few times in Iron Maiden's career, sections of music that you can hear on this album has resurfaced in Iron Maiden's music. So I don't know if that really is what the question is about, but I'm showing it anyway. If you're a Maiden fan, check out this, or read up about it if you don't already know. So yeah, there you go. A gem in my collection. Showed this before years ago. This is an album by a band called Volts. It's an original. I picked this up years and years ago at a car boot sale in Portsmouth. Now this band is actually from Portsmouth, and when I showed it on the VC before, it was on a thread called Stump the VC, which is all about showing records that you think that very few other people in the VC would have this record, and yeah, this is quite a rare record. They were a local band in Portsmouth, and they only made one album, and it was never reissued, although just looking up I've seen that there was a Greek reissue in the last few years of this album, and I would encourage anybody to listen out for that and look into it, because it's actually a pretty good record. It's called Night's Fall. That's my gem. this original's worth a small fortune. I don't play it very often, but maybe I'll do a little bit of a needle drop for this. An album from a band that formed closest to where I live. Now I live in south part of Wales, near Cardiff, and although I'm not from Wales, I'm not from Cardiff, I'm actually from England, in Essex, but the wording of the question is, where I live, and I live here, so I'm going to show you Tiger Tales, bit of a glam rock band from the back in the day. Always thought this cover looks quite good. There you go. This is their, I think their second album, called Berserk. And it's got all the trimmings of what a good glam metal album should have. And yeah, so they come from Cardiff. They formed in Cardiff. A metal album that I reach for melody wise. I'm gonna hold this up. This is Extreme. Yeah, whether they're metal or hard rock, I don't want to get into the discussion really. I guess technically they're not really metal, are they? But well, they're sort of rocky enough for me to be considered as metal. This is their third album. Three sides to every story. Now. Extreme were a very, very melodic band, and there was a lot to them that I think just sort of went under the bridge. Always really liked this album, and the last section is pretty much sort of like a long piece. It's called Everything Under the Sun, and I've always liked that piece. It's a real sort of epic piece of music stretched out over a long time, and the melodies are just fantastic. If you haven't heard it, I recommend you look into that. An album in my collection that I would sell first. I'm going to hold up this one. It's a case of last in, first out. This is probably the most recent heavy metal album I bought. Apparently this is a bona fide new wave of British heavy metal album or band. I picked this up in an Oxfam shop, and thought it was going to be quite interesting. But when I came home, it's probably one of the worst heavy metal albums that I have. The cover's lovely, and there are 4 tracks on it, and one track is 12 minutes, 22 minutes, 12 minutes, 22 seconds. Yeah, there's another track on here called Another Sunny Christmas, which is 11 minutes, 27. But it's not prog or anything like that. It's just badly made heavy metal, I suppose. Again, this is one to read up about. Look into this if you like to sort of read up about anomalies. Which subgenre of metal would I delete out of existence? I haven't been hard about this, and I have to say, if it really counts, as I really never did get into grunge. Grunge was never my thing. In fact, I was kind of deep into metal and you know, all the great stuff that we celebrate these days when grunge came along, and it was, for me, it's heartbreaking to see bands either just become irrelevant overnight or try to sort of twist and bend themselves into a different shape to you know, to appeal to the new sort of grunge audience. I really didn't like that, and I didn't really get into any of the grunge music. It just gave me a headache most of the time. It was so damn miserable too. So I'll have to say grunge. I would have. What was it that Manowar used to say? That's right, deaf to false metal. Yeah, I would have to say grunge. I would delete that. So a band that I would most like to see an album from in 2021. Now, yeah, this is kind of unrealistic, but I'm just taking a bit of license here with this. A band that I would love to see a new album from this year would be Rainbow. Now, talking about grunge, the last time Rainbow released an album, it really was sort of at the back end of the grunge movement type thing. So I think when Richie Blackmore released that Rainbow album, it didn't really do so well, didn't catch anybody's interest because you know, things were still up in the air after grunge. And I'm showing this because, well, obviously there could never be a Rainbow album anymore with Ronnie James Dio, sadly, has passed away. Jolene Turner, I think, is still about, but I never really did rate his vocals very much. Whereas Graham Bonnet, he's still active, he's still live, and he's still, as far as I know, makes albums. And I think if they brought out a new Rainbow album, almost sort of like a follow-up to this one, it would be great to have Graham Bonnet on vocals. Shorter songs, politically incorrect vocals, all the good stuff that you want to hear. It would be great to follow that up from this one. Which 80s metal act would I like to see a comeback album from? Well, I'm going to hold up this album. This is a Swedish metal band called Burn. This is their only album. Came out in the early 80s, I think 82, 83 or something like that. So yeah, it would be great to see a comeback metal album from them. Yeah, again, it won't happen. I don't know where all these people are these days. There's a great picture of them on the back. I mean, they look metal, don't they? Really. It would be great to see a comeback album from them. Show an alternative variation of an album cover. Right, well, unsleeve these. I'm going to show these. So this is Megadeth's first album. It's only a slight variation, but it's the one that I thought of, and that is, you can see that the way that the name Megadeth is included is slightly different. It's a similar type, yeah, it's the same type style, but the font is different. This has sort of like an outline, gold outline, whereas this doesn't. So there, that's my answer to that question. But they're both on Music for Nations. Band that for you defines heavy metal. Well, it has to be Priest, I would say. There you go. Rob Halford with hair and a beard. This is actually one of the earliest heavy metal records I ever got, and when I got it, it frightened the life out of me. I had it for a long time and didn't really play it, but we'll come back to that in a minute. Show an album with the most metallic cover. I meant to show this is Papa Roach. It's actually a metal cover. So this is a promo only, not for sale, limited edition, numbered box of that album. It's sort of new metal. It's not really my thing, but you know, I have it and I keep hold of it. And times like this, I'm glad I did, because yeah, it's as metallic a cover as they come, I guess. An album that I disliked at first, but now highly regard. Well, initially I thought, you know, about this, but I've already shown that, so I'm going to show another one of that sort of ilk, I suppose. Budgie. This is Night Flight. Such a brilliant album, and I've said many times before, and I'll say it again now. You can hear a lot, you know, that Iron Maiden have been listening to this, because there's sort of an essence of what they do that you can hear so much in Iron Maiden, I think. Like I said, when I got this first, it frightened the life out of me, and for a while, many years afterwards, when I got this, I wasn't really into metal. I mean, I like the Cult, for instance, and AC/DC, but this represented sort of a style of metal or hard rock that I just didn't like very much. And I got this on cassette, and I had it for a while before I, you know, started to enjoy it. I just avoided the cassette, I think. But then I got into Motorhead when I was a student and started, you know, opening my ears to heavy metal. And then I remembered, oh, I know, I've got that album by that band called Budgie. So I fished it out, and for the longest time that cassette was, you know, I played it all the time because it was so good. I really got into it. It's only recent years that I bought myself a vinyl copy of that album, but this is really one to check out. Such a great album. An album you liked at first but now disregard. Well, I can't be the only one. This, back in the day, yeah, like, you know, before I got into sort of serious, more metal sounding music, this would have been one that my girlfriend had, and I listened to it, and yeah, it was quite interesting at the time. In fact, I had it on cassette, funnily enough, back to back on a C90. Had this on one side, and I think I had Never Mind the Bollocks by Sex Pistols on the other side. Strange mixture. But and although I quite liked it because it really sort of introduced me to these sort of guitar solo type things, and I was sort of enjoying that, and that led me on to other stuff like Skid Row and, you know, so on and so forth. When I listen to this now, it's just so many ballads. You know, like, not every track on here is a ballad, but more than half of them are, I'm sure. So yeah, I don't really like it very much. A metal band that deserves more recognition. They don't really exist anymore, but I'll have to say Wolfsbane. Never really have understood why they, you know, didn't get more attention than they got. Of course, you know, Blaze Bayley, young-looking Blaze Bayley, went off when he was given the chance to go and join Iron Maiden, and that was sort of the undoing of the band, as far as I understand. But they made some great records. Every one of their tracks has got such a great hook in it, and it grabs you, and it's in your mind for the rest of the day. So yeah, I will say Wolfsbane. My number one grail for 2021. There's an album by UFO that I've looked out for a long time, and you never see it. I've looked online, and even second hand, they're often quite high prices. That is No Heavy Petting by UFO. I'd love to get a copy of that. Never heard it. The album before that, called Force It, is one of my favourites, and I've always felt, you know, I'd like to listen to the next one. So that for me is a grail. Maybe I'll make a concerted effort this year to look out for it and see if I can pull the trigger on it somewhere. Okay, everybody, thanks very much for watching. I don't show an awful lot of metal on my channel these days. I do have a series called My Hard Rock and Heavy Metal, where I'm going through my hard rock and heavy metal albums that I've sort of filtered out from my main collection, purely because I don't listen to them so much anymore. Although I will say that by filtering them out from my main collection, I do actually listen to them more and quite enjoy it. So there you go. But anyway, do come back and check out my channel and check out my next video. Thanks very much. Bye.
That don't bother me.